Hello, Zuko here. If you don't know, my name is Jess, but I go by Zimming on the internet because one time I was 15. So you may be like, wow, there's a whole bunch of fucking books behind you. And that's good observation skills. As I'm filming this, I think I posted my unhaul of 100 YA books like 2 weeks ago, but I filmed in January and I'm probably gonna be posting this in January, but this is an unhaul for the rest of my YA books that I don't think I'm gonna keep. So a lot of these I read because I sped read them, but a lot of them I also just didn't find myself interested in. Like I DNF'd a bunch. I picked some up and went, I don't like the summary of this. Like this doesn't sound like something I'm actually interested in reading anymore. The reason that I'm unhauling all of these books, specifically YA books, because my contact, the head librarian of the school division I donate all of my books to, is retiring this spring, and she is very accepting of all of the queer and diverse books that I give in, and I just want to get them all to her before she retires, so I made it a priority to get rid of the YA that I don't think I'm going to read anymore because the age range doesn't really interest me anymore. I don't like a lot of the YA standards of there has to be a romance, and the romance doesn't have to be very well developed. I don't want to read about teenagers who are having sex because I'm almost 30 years old. That would be weird if I wanted to read about that. You know, there are just a lot of themes and things in YA books that don't interest me as an almost 30-year-old adult. So I wanted to get them all off my shelves and into school libraries, hopefully before Canada follows suit and tries to start banning queer books in schools. So yeah, let's get right into it. I'm so excited to get these books out of my house because they've been taking up a lot of space. I don't know if you can tell. There's over 100 books, but I don't know how many. Should I count them? I guess I'll count them real quick. Give me a sec. Here we have 114 books. I'm taking this box. I'm putting her over here. Hopefully you can't see the box. So I guess we'll start over here. And this one, we're already starting off with a book that I was really on the fence about, but I was I don't think I'm gonna reread it. I think the cover's really pretty, and I had one scene that I thought was really, really good, and that is The Honeys by Ryan Masala. This is a YA horror book. I mean, I don't know that it did horror the way that I want YA horror to do horror, but it did have one scene that really stuck with me. I don't want box pulling over my tripod. When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore. I think I read this, but I haven't liked a single one of Anna Marie McLemore's books. We have The Circus Rose by Betsy Cornwall. I did not read this because the reviews didn't seem great. We have Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. I bought this because my friend recommended it, but then I never read it, and I don't want to. I read the first little bit and I was like, oh, it's the YA info dump. I don't want to read anymore. We have Go Hunt Me, which looked like it was going to be a queer vampire book, but there are no actual vampires, so when I heard that, I didn't want to read it anymore, so I didn't. We have The Good Demon by Jimmy Cajoles. This is a book about someone who is friends with the demon inside of them, and then their demon is exorcised, and then they want the demon back. I don't know. I didn't read it. The audiobook was only available on Audible, and I didn't want to pay for it a second time because I was pretty sure I wasn't going to keep it. More Than This by Patrick Ness, I'm so sad about because it's yellow. And I love the cutout on the cover. I think this cover is so pretty. So I was really planning on keeping this, and I was expecting to love this book. I don't know. I didn't love it the way that I wanted to love it. So I hope that it'll go and be loved by other people. Dark Inside and Rage Within by Jane Roberts. These are both I think there's actually a third book. I don't know that the third book was traditionally published. These are two Canadian dystopias with some kind of rage virus, it seems like. I read the first little bit and went, I just remembered I don't care. I don't care anymore about that genre of book. Getting rid of my copy of George. I've previously donated a copy of Melissa, the reprint of George with the proper name for the main character on it. I just think that this book deserves to be in more schools for more kiddos, so getting rid of my copy. A Tale of Two Princes by Eric Jurin. This is a book, okay, about the I'm so furious that this book exists. This is a book about the British monarch decides that Canada should have a monarch because the merch sales for the monarchy are good here, and the prime minister is just okay, but instead of a new monarchy here, they make the King of Canada just the next in line for the British throne. Apparently the word maple is used in this book almost 200 times. The author is not Canadian, and I made it 2 pages in, and then the prince said something about the maple crown. Is it bolded? Maple crown rule 46, make everyone feel hurt. Yeah, I couldn't. They said the maple crown because clearly the Canadian prince is striving to become the maple king. And because, clearly Canada needs to be more like Britain in a lot of ways for some reason. They decided we have a news publication called the Daily Maple, the Daily Mail. I don't know why this book was published. I hate everything about this book. Nothing made sense. Why would Canada suddenly need its own separate monarchy from the British monarchy? And why is it just the British monarchy again, but now they're called the King of Canada? I don't know, I hated it. A Neon Darkness by Lauren Shippen. I didn't want to read it. That's it. There's nothing more exciting than that. Forestborn and Wildbound by Elaine Audrey Becker. My friend recommended both of these and said they were good YA books, and the second one follows a queer character, but I tried and I just didn't care. Ink in the Blood, I read like half of and then went, I don't care, and DNF'd it. This is by Kim Makel. People said they really liked this in the reviews, so hopefully that's true of other people who are not me. The Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Flores. I haven't even read this yet. I will still maybe read the audiobook when I get it from the library. All the reviews were like, this book's shit, so I believe them. The Neverending Story by Michael End, translated by Ralph Mannheim. I haven't read, and I might read. Oh, and it has a big old slice down the dust jacket. I hope that wasn't me who did that when I opened the box it was in, but I don't think it was. I haven't read this, and I still want to, but I don't think I need it on my shelf. Eliza and Her Monsters, I was planning on keeping. Like, I have every intention of keeping this book, but I just don't think I will ever read it again. It's by Francesca Zappia. I feel like a book about fandom and stuff is probably better suited to be read a bazillion times by teenagers than it is to sit on my shelf. That is also why I'm unhauling my copy of Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I also feel like this book is going to resonate with people who read it as teenagers, because I just read it a couple weeks ago, and it didn't resonate with me the way that I expected it to, because everyone is so obsessed with this book, and I was just like, oh, that's it. I think this would do well with teenagers who have those feelings more than I do. Okay, this box is almost full. We have another book that I'm sad about, and that is The Fascinators by Andrew Iliopoulos. I read this book. I really liked this book. I never think about reading it again, and I don't think it's getting a sequel. I don't think I need to hold on to it anymore. I think it's gonna get more love at a school than it's gonna get sitting on my shelf unread. Next, we have Youngblood by Sasha Lawrence. I really like the cover, and I love the sapphic vampire YA streak we're going on, but like, this book wasn't good. It felt very white saviory. The main character is this white girl who goes to this new school for vampires, and she immediately starts going, people don't ask people's pronouns here. Oh my god, the racial diversity here is not good. Like, it's just like, no. It Looks Like Us by Allison Ames. I believe I read The Covenant, or To Break a Covenant, something by Alice Ames that I didn't like, so I don't feel motivated to read this. The Meaning of Birds by Jane Robin Brown. I'm just not interested in like contemporary romance vibes, so I didn't want to read this anymore. And Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. I liked when I read it. I don't think I need to keep it on my shelf. Like, I have the audiobook. I can reread it if I want to, but I don't think I need to keep the physical copy. Okay. First box is done. Then we have, ooh, I don't want to knock that over. Then we have Hell Follows With Us by Andrew Joseph White. I read this. I liked this. I'm never going to reread this. Project by Courtney Summers. I read this. I liked this. This was a cult book, but I'm never going to reread it. Resurrection Girls by Ava Morgan. I haven't read. I don't think an audiobook exists, and I didn't feel like actually picking it up. I just liked the cover. She Is a Haunting by Trang Tan Tran. This cover is really pretty. I read this. I couldn't tell you what was happening when I read this. Like, it felt like a lot of scenes just felt disjointed, and I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't, and I don't think it was intentional, and I had trouble following along with this book, so I'm not keeping it. League of Liars by Astrid Schult. This book wasn't great. I mostly bought it because this cover is really pretty, and I'm probably not going to continue on if it gets a sequel. I already don't remember what happened in the first one. All of the Bad Apples by Moira Fowley Doyle. I read Something Lost and Found, the Book of Lost Things. I don't know. I read their other book, and I tried to read this, and I didn't like the audiobook narrator because I struggle with the accent. I think it's Scottish or Irish or something, and I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't care enough to continue on. The Immeasurable Depths of You by Maria Ingrande Moira. I liked this book. I think I teared up during this book, but I don't think I'm ever going to reread this book. So hopefully it can touch somebody else right in the feelings. Master of One by Jada Jones and Danny Bennett. I fucking hated this book. I was going to keep it in case it got a sequel. I don't want to put myself through either of those things. The only thing I liked about this book is that one of the main characters was a fae named like Shining Talon, Sparkling in the Night or some shit like that, but they just called him Shining Talon, and I thought that was fun. Nothing else about this book was fun. Afterlove by Tanya Bryn, or Byron. This was supposed to be like, I don't know, Grim Reaper romance, question mark. I tried to read it. I made it like a quarter of the way through and I was bored. So Sophie and the Bone Song by Adrienne Tooley, I read. I enjoyed it well enough, but I'm never gonna reread it. Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. I've read an Erica Waters book. I don't love their writing and I wasn't compelled to actually read this after I had it sit on my shelves for like 2 years. The Drowning Summer by Christine Lynn Herman. I was never gonna pick this up. I simply don't really want to read YA romances, queer, or anything else, you know? Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore. This audiobook is like an Audible exclusive and I didn't want to buy it and I didn't feel like actually sitting and reading it because I really struggle with doing that. So that's leaving. So is Blanca and Ruha by Anna Marie McLemore for the same reason. I don't have easy access to the audiobook, so I never read it. And I've read like 3 or 4 of their books now and I haven't like loved a single one that makes me be like, I should read all of them. Ace is Wild by Amanda Dewitt. I kind of want to keep because I just loved a book that was like a bunch of Ace kids. Was the book itself good? Like, not really. But did it like mean something to me to see a book marketed as a bunch of Ace kids? Yes. The Disasters by M.K. England also was a book that I enjoyed, and I like that the book itself is yellow, and I wanted to keep it, but I don't think I'm ever gonna read it again, so I'm like, bye, I guess. Like, I'm sad about this one. But I also couldn't tell you what happened in that book, so... Where Echoes Die by Courtney Gold, I haven't read. I should have returned it when it came in the mail. I've canceled my pre-orders for other YA books at this point because I don't want them, but I didn't. I read Courtney Gold's first book. It's fine. Maybe I'll still read this one, but I don't think I need the physical copy. And then A Dark and Starless Forest by Sarah Hollowell. I enjoyed this book. It was fun. I'm never gonna read it again. Jelly by Claire Reese was about a bunch of people who live on a giant jellyfish and they can't escape. And it's very weird and confusing, and maybe kids would like it. I will never read it again. But it was very strange. If you want a book that is just very strange, I recommend it. All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and C.L. Herman. I hated this book. I might have a whole review on it. I don't know if I do. I've definitely reviewed this book. And if I can find that video, I'll try and remember to link it. I didn't like it, so I'm not keeping it. It was marketed as like the Triwizard Tournament meets, I don't know, the Hunger Games meets whatever. It wasn't. It was just like 7 people talking about their feelings for an entire book. So next we have The Witch King and the Fae Keeper by H.E. Edgman. I read this one. I haven't read this one. I might still read this one. I liked it well enough, but I don't think I'm ever gonna reread it, except probably to read the sequel. But I don't think it needs to be on my shelf. Then I have Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovolino. This book is not good. It's supposed to be about the goblin market, but the goblin market and the story itself are so underdeveloped that it wasn't fun. So now I like desperately want a goblin market book. So if you have any recommendations, I just found my copy of Melissa by Alex Gino. This is the new edition of the book formerly published as George. Unhauling this one too. Hopefully they end up at different schools. 2 boxes down, 2 boxes to go. Oh, I guess I'm moving this way. I hope you can still see me. We have Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. I kind of wanted to keep this because it had a canon ace main character, but I don't think I'm ever going to reread it. So I've made the decision to get rid of it. A Room Away from the Wolves by Nova Rensuma. I believe I read and enjoyed, but I don't think I'm ever going to reread it. But it was a weird one and I recommend it. Never Contented Things by Sarah Porter. I have a lot of mixed feelings about, and I think there was a relationship in here that was really iffy. But I bought it because I really liked Vasa in the Night, which is also the same reason I have Tentacle and Wing by Sarah Porter. But this is middle grade. It's really pretty cover, but I don't think I'm ever going to read it. Then I have The Gilded Ones and The Merciless Ones, both by Namina Forna. I read the first one. I did not read the sequel. I heard the sequel wasn't as good. And I know there's a 3rd one, but I didn't ever buy it. Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas always gets such rave reviews, and I didn't care for it nearly enough to keep it when, if teens love this book, I should give it to teens who can read that book over and over again and get something from it. The Dead in the Dark by Courtney Gold. This is a queer ghost book. I don't know. All the queer horror-y ghost books are really starting to feel identical to each other to me, so. Little Universes I bought and then never read. The Corpse Queen I bought, read part of, and went, I'm bored, and never picked it up again. I think Dead End Girls I read and had a lot of fun with, although there was like weird incest that did not have any business being there. So yeah, I'm not keeping it. This is by Wendy Hurd. I would love it, by the way, if YA authors stopped writing incest. I would love it even more if all authors stopped writing incest, but specifically YA needs to not. Goodbye. Pretty Dead Queens by Alexa Dunn. I read it. I'm never going to reread it. The Deck of Omens and The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. I've read these. I like them. Like, I'm kind of attached to the first one, but I think that they'll get more life out of school. So Blood and Moonlight by Erin Beatty. I actually Also enjoyed this. This was like a weird fantasy kind of book. I don't know. It's weird. I liked it. There's a sequel coming out soon. Where Darkness Blooms I didn't even try to read because I read the reviews and the reviews were all like, this book sucks. So hopefully people who don't want to read critically can read this and enjoy it. I don't even think I read critically. I'm just a critical person. We Can Tame Multitudes, I believe, has a iffy age gap romance, and I hated how it was written because I tried to read the beginning and went, oh, I'd rather die than read this. The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer, I read and it was fine, but I'm never gonna reread it. I'm currently reading The Sunbar Trials by Aidan Thomas, but I just feel like gonna get more mileage out of school than it is with me. Other kids are gonna love this more than I will. I don't know that I'll love it, but it'll be fun while I read it. The Devouring Wolf by Natalie C. Parker is the first in like a middle grade series about like a bunch of werewolves, and it's cute. But I don't want to read YA. I certainly don't want to read middle grade right now either. A Magic Steeped in Poison and A Venom Dark and Sweet, both by Judy I. Lin. I read the first one and it was so forgettable. I liked the concept of the tea magic, but the story kind of just got lost because it was too long. So I never picked up the sequel. Well, I own the sequel, but I never like read the sequel. And like, I'm never going to. Kiki's Delivery Service, Yaiko Kadono. This is the book that I believe inspired the Ghibli movie. And it was super cute and I liked it, but I don't think I'm gonna read it again. This is the last like box I have down here. So anything that doesn't fit in this box, I don't know what I'm gonna do with. Next we have Violent Ends. This is a novel in 17 points of view. So this is 17 points of view about I believe a school shooting, and I just never read it. There are all the authors on the back. You've got like Sean David Hutchinson and Kendra Blake, Neil and Brennan Schusterman, and Courtney Summers, and like, you know, names you know. So I'm sure it's good. I just really struggle with physically picking up books when I would rather listen to audiobooks. Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. I wanted to love, but it wasn't weird enough. Now I'm like, could I write that book but weirder? I don't know, but I could try. Just for me personally. Solstice, a summer horror or something like that by Lawrence Allison. I thought about reading many times. Think it's a horror. I never read it. These Witches Don't Burn and This Coven Won't Break, both by Isabel Sterling. I read them. I enjoyed them, but it is time to pass them along. Same with The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. Same reason. Just YA isn't vibing with me anymore. Bitter and Pet by Akwake Emezi. The same story. I've read these. I think these are good books, and I hope that kids enjoy these because they should. Then we have The Ivies by Alexa Dunn, which it's like a YA mystery thriller thing. So once you read it, I just don't know that I feel a lot of value in reading a mystery thriller thing a second time. Next we have like my tall books. Girl of Paper and Fire and Girls of Storm and Shadows, both by Natasha Negan. And I picked these up at my local used bookstore and I never picked them up to read. So that's probably bad on that. Victory is Greater Than Defeat, Dreams Bigger Than Heartbreak, Promises Stronger Than Darkness, all by Charlie Jane Anders. I read the first one. I really thought it was fun. I read the second one. It was fine. And then I bought the last one just so I could donate the whole trilogy. My cat's being rowdy, causing a ruckus. Girl Serpent Thorn by, I believe, Melissa Bardot? Barchardo? I don't know. I didn't really like this. I bought it because the cover was pretty. I've read it. I shouldn't have bought it. Spellbound. So This Is Ever After and In Deeper Waters, all by F.T. Lucan. Their covers are always so gorgeous, but I never love the stories inside of them. Vampires Never Get Old. This is a collection of vampire stories. I don't like anthologies. I read it. There was like some that were fun. Mostly I liked the Guide to Being a Desi Vampire or something. I thought that was fun. This is book 2 in a trilogy, and that sucks to suck, I guess. The Gifts That Bind Us by Carolyn O'Donoghue, and I don't care enough to buy the rest of the trilogy. The Devourers by Indra Das. I liked because of the bones on the cover, but I'm never gonna read it. Go to some paperbacks to fit in the spots here. We have Prince of Souls by Alexandra Christo. I have no idea what this is about. It came as an extra in a Fairy Blue box. So did The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman. The cover's really pretty, but I tried to read a little bit and I went, oh, I'm bored. That's fun. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I have a hardback copy of, so I don't need this one anymore. So Much I Want to Tell You. Letters to My Little Sister by Anna Akana. This is a YouTuber book that I think might be good for young teens to read who are maybe have been in dark places, because it's 2 letters to her little sister who took her own life. I don't know, those just kind of feel like something maybe important for people to read. Just Figure It Out, Human Proportions by Christopher Hart. It's an art book. The Baba Yaga's Assistant, because I want a hardback copy of this. I love the Baba Yaga books. This is by Marika Makula and Emily Carroll. I hope Paper Girls Volume 1 is appropriate to go to a school library. The Spiderwick Chronicles, Care and Feeding of Sprites. I bought this at like a book fair a long time ago, and I thought it was cute, but I don't think I ever even read the Spiderwick Chronicles. Apparently I'm donating my Pokemon Advanced Handbook. I don't think that's true. I think this is mine. We have The Raccoon Who Thought She Was a Dog. I am Paul Spot this. I've never read it, but I did follow Pumpkin when she was alive. on Instagram. We got Witchlight by Jezzy Zabarski. This was a cute graphic novel. Geek Girls, The Secret Loves of Geek Girls by Hope Nicholson. Foreword by Kelly Sue DeConnick. I don't know. I hope this is a good book for schools. Tide Song by Wendy Zhu is got such a beautiful art style, but I don't think I'm ever going to reread it. The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag. Also beautiful. Don't think I'm going to reread it, and I don't like to keep paperbacks. Behind You, One Shot Horror Stories by Brian Coldrick. Introduction by Joe Hill. This is fun. It's like not super scary, but it might be fun for kids around Halloween. And I suppose for books that are just not going to fit in these boxes, we have the Percy Jackson Olympians Ultimate Guide. It still has its cards in it. I'm sure those will get lost at school, but that's fine. Twin Crowns, which I'm debating on donating to the school or just donating to like my local used bookstore because it has frayed edges and I don't want it to just get stolen or wrecked, you know, because it's pretty. Is that not putting a lot of faith in kids? I know books get stolen though. I'm pretty sure I tried to steal books from the library because I was like, I want this book of 500 dog breeds that I take out every week. Is there a way I could take it out and keep it? And I definitely, from like classroom libraries where you don't have to check things out, that's how I got my copy of Artemis Fowl and the Arctic Incident. And if they're gonna read the books, that's fine. But if they're gonna steal it just because it's pretty, that's less fine. The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, I read reviews and it didn't seem like something I actually wanted to read. I'm like sad to get rid of this. This is Seance Tea Party by Ramini Yee. Look at Under the Dust Jacket. It's so pretty. I want to keep it, but I only want to keep it because it's pretty under the dust jacket, and I don't think that's a good reason to stop a book from going to a school library. It feels like a bad reason to keep a book. And lastly, but not leastly, we have The Son of a Trickster, Trickster Drift, and Return of the Trickster, all by Eden Robinson. These are like a Canadian Indigenous trilogy about like a trickster god or something. I read the first one and I wasn't in love with it. I hope it's YA. It seems a bit brutal. Sometimes that's the life of kids, so, you know, I wanted to like it and it just wasn't as for me as I had hoped, so I'm passing it along. So yeah, these are all 114 or whatever books that I am donating to my local school division, the same school division that I went to as a kid, so the same like library system that I used to take books out from, I'm giving back. I really think that reading is important, so I want to always instill a love of reading as much as I can onto other people, which is why all of my friends' kids only get books as presents from me, because I want your kid to love reading. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope nobody who has somehow made it this far is mad at me for unhauling books. I'm not even donating them to a used bookstore. I'm not donating them somewhere, like I'm not selling them at half price books, which doesn't exist here. I'm pretty sure there's nowhere I can like sell used books and get money back unless I just like online marketplace it, which no, that sounds like a waste of my time. And like these are for free, just going to a school division that doesn't have enough money all the time to buy a bazillion new books. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it and I will see you whenever I do my next video.